Hey guys, Brooke and Laura here for Lawyering Outside the Lines, and hope you guys are having a great day. If you're here in Central Arkansas, it's really rainy and gross. But Laura and I just came back from really awesome weekends. We did different things, but both were kind of wellness focused a little bit. I spent my time at Reboot in Atlanta. The ladies from Atlanta Legal Tech are amazing. If you haven't heard of that conference or been to that conference, you should definitely check it out. There was a lot of talk about wellness too, so I got really excited about that. It was a little combo of tech and wellness, and Laura actually spent her weekend, an extended weekend in the woods, and doing some time relaxing, and she much deserved that time. So today we're going to talk about a super important wellness issue that lawyers face. It's kind of universal, and that is boundaries. So boundaries are really important, and sometimes they can be hard if you do not have the right systems and processes in place, especially in practice areas that require you to really step in kind of that counselor role. Like for us, that's family law, so Laura over there. But so you really need to put those things in place so that way you can be a good, compassionate, empathetic representative and attorney for your client, but also make sure that you're honoring yourself. So, but for good practice and your sanity, you have to create those boundaries. And here are two common areas that we see over and over again that lawyers really need to spend some time creating boundaries with.
Absolutely. And I love how Brooke said I was in the woods, because I have lovely friends whose lovely moms own cabins and things like that I get to take advantage of and have some solo recharge time. So boundaries are a huge thing, not only in our professional lives, but our personal ones too. And Brooke and I are very, very intent on working through personal and professional boundary issues. And we've come up with some really good ideas and different ways to kind of figure out how to set those boundaries and keep them. Keeping them is the most important thing beyond setting them. So first, we're going to talk about boundaries with your clients. We teach our clients here at MVL, actually just in general, everybody teaches their clients how to interact with them. If you have specific ways that you want them to interact with you, you just have to stay firm. So we're going to talk about 3 ways that you can create boundaries with your clients today. Number 1 is managing their expectations. So manage their expectations up front. Explain their legal issues thoroughly. Don't take the, okay, I got it from here, trust me approach. You can significantly decrease the time that you spend going back and forth with a client if you actually explain to them on the front end what's going on. Making your clients part of the process means that you actually spend less time talking to them in the long run, going back and forth, answering questions. The biggest problem that people have is that they don't understand. And attorneys sometimes feed off of that, but that's not good for your mental health and wellness. Within that, managing expectations, be transparent about your process. If you want to build trust with your clients, you have to be transparent about the entire process. They are paying us to help them navigate an often overwhelming system and process and issue. So your process of how you actually work with your clients and what is going on in their particular case shouldn't be a secret when they're working with you. If your turnaround time for getting an answer to something or drafting documents or whatever it is typically 7 days, say that to them. If you are completely paperless and will need them to be prepared to email you things or communicate in a different way than what people traditionally think of, communicate that with them. The more that you can be transparent about what you're going to expect and what they can expect from you, the better it is all around, because it's less confusion. Next thing we're going to talk about is having a clearly communicated plan for how the two of you are going to communicate with each other. If you have a 24-hour reply policy to emails, phone calls, whatever, say that to them. Say, hey, I'm not going to get back to you within 30 minutes, because we've all had that client that when you didn't respond within 5 minutes, they were calling 90 times and sending you emails and texts and all sorts of things. 24-hour policy, say that to them. Definitely, have it in your engagement letter. If you only communicate through a client portal, like we do here at MVL, reiterate that. Say it over and over again. Tell them why it's better for them too. Redirect them if it's necessary because they've reached out a different way. We have that happen very, very rarely here at MVL, but we do sometimes have people email us. And what Brooke and I tend to do is we actually respond to their email through their client portal. I don't even respond and to their email and say, hey, check out your client portal. I respond to their client portal because I know that they have access to that. The last thing that we're going to talk about with me is be consistent and commit to your boundaries. Kind of like what I said at the beginning, setting the boundaries is important, but actually keeping them is the most important, because if you have a boundary that you don't keep, then it's not really a boundary, is it? So commit to those boundaries. If you, for example, if you only take payments online, people will find a way to pay. I promise you that. Don't let them mail a check into you, because that is going to cause you to track it down, have to go deposit it, cause delay. So if you only want to take payments online, they have a debit card, they have a credit card. If they don't, they have a bank account. If there's, maybe they're just not a client for you if they have to pay you in cash, and that's totally fine. But just be really consistent about that particular boundary. If you only meet with clients remotely, do that. Most of the time, clients don't have preconceived notions of how your process will work. We're the ones who think that they do, because of how we've been taught and the way that we've been told and seen that this is how you practice law. Don't put your expectations and your notions of how the process works onto your clients. They probably don't work with attorneys very often. Most clients, only go to an attorney when they have something bad happen, excuse me, like a divorce or, a business issue or whatever it might be. So they don't have this idea of this is how it has to be. You're the one who's teaching them that. So most clients will work with you on your terms and be completely satisfied with the service that you provide. Don't make assumptions about what they want or need. Ask them, but also teach them how it works when they're dealing with you.
Absolutely. That is one of the biggest things that we see, and we hear from attorneys that we are either working with or that we, speak with. They all think, well, I couldn't do that because my clients, want me to, be face to face, or I can't do that because my clients won't do this. They won't interact with me this way. And that's them not even trying that. And that may be true. There may be some situations where you have clients that won't do that. But like Laura said, I love that you said, then maybe they're not the clients for you, because what happens is you are taking your time back. You're taking your control of that time, and you are getting, those people who are going to be sucking your time. You are paying the same as somebody else who is following your, protocols and processes. You're possibly avoiding that and spending more time focusing on the people who will, follow your process, and even more time available. You'll have more time available to attract and go out and try to get the people who are actually going to hire you and work with you the way that you want to work. So you have to be okay not having some of those clients, but that's, you're going to have more clients coming in. So with that, the next thing we're going to talk about is boundaries with your time. We always say we're so busy and we don't have enough time for things. And, that's kind of a recurring theme. I've said it all the time. Laura says it. We just feel like overwhelmed and there's not enough time to get everything done. But one thing that we've kind of implemented that has really helped me is time blocking. And if you don't time block, I highly recommend you look into it and sit down and spend some time with your own schedule and your own responsibilities and obligations and figure out what that's going to look like for you, because that's customizable. So, there may be some things that you can't move. It's a non-negotiable for us most of the time on Tuesdays that we're here doing the live, but, we have a lot of flexibility otherwise. And so we have figured out when we work best, how we work best, when we want to work. And we've time blocked our schedules that way. So for instance, I block off a huge chunk of time on Mondays to do administrative work. You can block off and only take calls. Like I don't take calls with clients past 2 p.m. That helps my schedule as a mom. So that works for my life. Clients do not have a problem with that. Also, personal stuff, make sure you're blocking those things out. And especially, self-care. And by self-care, I mean, anything from you need, an hour to go read a self-help book. You need, an hour of downtime because you're going to go even to your kid's school and watch a play or whatever you're going to do, whatever is important to you. The personal and self-care stuff is really important, and put it down, because if you don't block time for it, you're going to say, oh, I'm going to get around, to going and getting my nails done. I did that this morning, but you're going to say, I'm going to get around to doing that. And you're not going to do it if you don't actually put it in, work it into your schedule, because you're going to get busy, you're going to get overwhelmed, there's going to be other stuff that pops up, and then that's going to move down in priority. So make yourself a priority. And that leads me to prioritizing. So I'm leading right into all the things. So
good transition.
What'd you say?
Good transitions.
Thank you. Totally unintentional. But when you prioritize, by that, I mean, knock work on that. And then we, kind of push it down. Well, I've still got 3 days. I can work on that later. And then we might work on something else. And just because maybe it's big or daunting, or, something that is going to require a lot of brain space and you're just not there for it that day. But knock those things out first. When you have, and you can figure it out, everybody's a little bit different. When you are your most productive, figure out your most productive. Laura and I saw a keynote by Daniel Pink, and I have his book called When, W-H-E-N. And it's really cool and talks about how you can figure out what time you work best, when you're most productive, when's best time to collaborate, like when Laura and I have to have a partner meeting, whatever. So really learn that about yourself and figure that out. And then you can prioritize. Like Monday morning, it might not be a good use of my time to open up my emails and spend, 12 hours on emails. If I'm up and I'm ready to go and I've got my caffeine, go right to it, like knock something big out. And then also keep it simple. So everything does not have to be done all at once, even though we want to get it all off our plate, check it off, whatever. Because that's what leads to the overwhelm and then feeling unaccomplished, because you feel like, oh, it's still growing, because you're going to be adding stuff to it. And it's just one big, long, daunting to-do list. So kind of list your top 5 things that must be done on that day. So you can mark them off, you feel accomplished, and give yourself a little grace, because you may have, like I said, a big project. It may take you longer than expected, or you may have something that kind of surprisingly comes up that you have to deal with. But give yourself a little bit of grace there and just move it to the next day. But don't have a list of 50 things to do. It's 5 plus the one that you rolled over from that day. So, take it in little pieces, and that's going to be less overwhelming and help you, keep those boundaries. These are the things I'm working on today. And then, like, if a client happens to reach out and check in, you can say, oh, I have it on my schedule, and I do this often. I have it on my schedule to work on your things tomorrow. So that way they know that you're still working on it, and that and you've got time set aside to actually dedicate to that client, because you've time blocked, like I just talked about earlier. Also, outsource. So, what can you handle? Do you want to handle versus what can you pass along to other folks? And so, our friend Kim Bennett is an attorney out in Atlanta. She's a business and trademark attorney, and she is one of the founders of the Atlanta Legal Tech Group. And she said this weekend, she always uses this method, and she says, love it, like it, hate it. And it was perfect. I was like, that's it. That's exactly it. And so what she means by that is, if you love it, do it. Like Laura loves adoptions. She talked about adoptions earlier for our Arkansas people, and, do that. If you like it, yeah, you may have to do it. It may be something that, you don't love doing, but it's okay doing. You might can keep that on your plate, move it off your plate if you become too overwhelmed. And then hate it. If you hate it, do not do it. Find somebody else to do it, or just don't do it at all. And I'm not saying, you're working with a client and you hate part of that case and you're like, I'm just not going to do that. I'm saying don't invite those things in. If you hate something, if you hate a practice area, don't offer that practice area, or hire somebody else to do it. So there are other ways that you can get around it. But I love that love it, like it, hate it method. And lastly, use your best yes. And so your best yes a lot of times is a no. Do not overcommit yourself. Do not feel like you have to say yes to everything. If you say no, if you're only saying yes to the things that you really want to do, then you're bringing 100% to that. You're not letting these other things that you don't really want to do bog you down. And I mean, you're not going to bring your best self to it if you don't want to do it. And it's okay. I think we get in a pattern where we think, oh, well, I don't miss this opportunity to write this article, or I don't want to miss that speaking engagement, or I don't want to miss this client, but be okay saying no, because you will be able to bring your best self if you are saying yes to the things that you love. So those are some of the boundaries with your time. We talked about boundaries with clients, boundaries with your time. The most important thing, Laura has reiterated it throughout, is stick to it. It's great to say I'm going to do these things, but commit. Make that commitment and stick to it. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back here next week on Tuesday. I have no idea what that date is, maybe the 11th, at 1 Eastern, 12 Central, 11 Mountain, and 10 Pacific time. Thanks, guys, and have a great week.